let's take a look at how we can make this simple little book rack. And with this one, we're going to be able to make the whole thing from a single sketch. So if you take a look at it, what we've got is four pieces. Turn my book off. But essentially, it's just two sides with two little slots cut in it, and two traditionally cut pieces of wood that can fit into those two slots. So the idea is these end pieces are CNC cut, and these are just provided and cut on the table saw. Real simple little project, and it gives you a chance to really personalize something that you can make in the class. So what I'm going to do, create a new file here, and we're going to start off by sketching one of those end pieces. So I'll create a sketch, and I'll just create it on the plane here. I did the XY plane because, again, if we're doing this on the CNC, it's good to have the Z plane going towards you. And I'm going to set a couple parameters. So I'm going to modify, change parameters. And let's say I want the length of this to be 600 mils. I want the height to be, let's say, 200 mils. You can change this stuff later. All right. I want the material thickness to be 15 millimeters. And we're going to be using a tool bit again. So our tool, again, we'll just use that 6 mil that we used last time. All right, so we got our parameters set up. We go OK. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And we're going to go our height, tab, and we're just going to make it square, so I'll go height again. And enter. And then that's giving me this rectangle. So once we've got that, we need to start looking at the angle that we want our books on. So I'm going to grab the line tool, and I'm going to change the line to a construction line. So I do that by clicking on this guy here. And I'm just going to draw a line down. I'm not too concerned. I'm going to dimension this into place and a line there. So this will be the angle that my books are sitting on. Turn that back off. If I go to create sketch dimension now, I can dimension from here to here. And I just want that to be 90 degrees, the same as what the books would be. That gives me that angle. Hit the escape key to get out of the dimensions. You can move this around now and determine how you want your bookshelf to look. So it can be over here, it can be over here, it can be centered. This is just changing the angle that you're going to see the books at. So you can play around with it. You might need to add a couple other dimensions to make it fit. So you can play with it that way as well. So I'm happy with mine looking like that. So now what I'm going to do is draw in those two shelves where they're going to be sitting. So I'm going to use the line tool. I'm just going to start from here and drop. Now, we're going to be using 70 mil pine for this. So I'm going to type in 70 because I know that's my dimension. And hit enter, and you can see there's my line. I'm going to come here. I'm going to go up so I can see that little square. That little square that's showing up in the corner is telling me that this is perpendicular, 90 degrees. So here I'm going to go thickness. And then that gives me my thickness. I'll take my line tool again. If I mouse over here, you'll see I get a nice, oh, maybe not this time. Anyway, I've got my perpendicular again. So I'll just go 70. And one more line connecting those. And that looks good. Just to check, I could always go parallel and make sure that this line is parallel to that line. It's giving me an error, so that normally means it already is parallel. So that looks good for that one. So my other one will be sitting over here. So again, I'm going to come over. And it's kind of up to you where you want this to sit. You can dimension it later. But we're going to come up this way. Along that line, we'll go 70 again. We'll go up this way, and that'll be our thickness. Coming back, we'll do 70. We could have used a constraint for that 70, by the way. But for the sake of this one, we didn't. Alright, so we've got that added back in, and again, if you want, you can check and see, okay, is this parallel to that? It's going to give me an error because it already is, and that's okay. So we've got the dimensions there. So that's going to be our two shelf pieces that the books sit on. Now, like we did in the shelf the other day, we added some circles to the corners, and that was to give us some clearance for our tool bit. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to grab that circle tool, and I'm going to come in, and I'm going to say that this is my tool diameter, like so, and I'm going to use the tangent tool to connect those. So again, I'm coming in here, the diameter is the tool, that's 6 mils. I hit enter, tangent to there. So I've got them all tangented in, and I'm going to go around and do the same thing to all the other ones. Okay, so I've gone through and I've added those circles in. You can see we've got them there. I'm not worrying about trimming any of this because I'm actually going to use pretty much all of this geometry as we go. So that's the single sketch that we're going to make this whole part from. So if I go finish sketch now, there's my sketch. And we're going to start off by doing an extrude. And I'm just going to extrude everything. So I'm grabbing all the stuff because this is just going to be the side of it, so the side that's solid. Zoom in on that one, get it a bit better. Alright, so I've got all of that, and we're going to extrude this out, and I want to extrude it thickness divided by 2, because those other marks on the inside are going to turn into pockets later. So okay, so I got thickness divided by 2. I hit enter, and I end up with just this rectangle. I'm actually going to come back, I'm going to right click on this and say create component from sketch, just so it's a separate component. And I can go to my sketches, and I can turn that sketch back on. So now you can see I've got my sketch back. And again, I'm going to go to extrude. I'm going to grab this. I'm not going to worry about clicking anything else this time. And we want to go negative thickness divided by 2. And what that's going to do is make this total thickness, but it means that these little grooves are halfway through our material. So they're not going to be sticking out the other side. I'm leaving this at join because I want these to be 2 identical pieces. And I'm going to go OK. If I turn that sketch off, you'll see the lines disappear, and that just gives me that nice piece. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is we need to mirror this over. So I'll just turn the sketch off for a second. We're going to go to the construction plane again. I'm going to click on that. And we're going to come here to this side. And we're going to make our, I think we said length. So I'm going to say negative length. And again, divide by 2 because I want this in the middle. So I've got my construction plane there. And again, negative length divided by 2 because it's the center. Length is our total thing. I can go to create and mirror. I want to mirror this on my mirror plane there. Just make sure this says bodies or components. They should work. We go OK, and there's our 2 halves. I don't need that construction plane anymore, so I'm just going to turn that off. Cool, so we've got these 2 pieces the way we like them. I'm going to turn that sketch back on again, and we can see our geometry. So again, we're going to go extrude, and we're going to click that inside pieces here. I have to rotate a bit to get that selected. So there's one. Again, maybe just a little rotating. It can be a bit tricky to get all these bits. Alright, so there we go. So I've got those selected. I'm going to make this new component now just to make sure I've got it as a new component. My distance, I'm going to say to object, and we're going to flip it around and take a look at the inside here. So I want it to go to this surface. Click on that. You can see that it's brought the two pieces over. It's still a new component. I click OK, and now I've got my bookshelf just the way I want it. Sketch off. Now in mind you saw that I had some different appearances. If I right click on this, I can go to Appearance, and you'll notice here, so there's a folder for wood. I just made the ends mahogany wood just because I like the color. So I'll do this one as well. And for the sides, for the inside pieces, we're going to make those out of pine. So that's how I made the colors like that. I'll let you figure out how I drew the book. So essentially, that is this project. Now, for yourselves, you got a chance to play at the angle on this, but you could also go back in and make a new sketch and modify what you want this to look like. So you say maybe you use the spline tool, and you could play around, have kind of a neat edge cut on the top of it, something like that, whatever you want. Click the little check mark, and let's go finish sketch. And you can go through and have a play and just make it look the way you want it to look. Just be careful, like you see here, I cut into those holes. You probably want to avoid doing that if the stuff's going to stick out. Or maybe that's the shape that you're looking at. But you can play around with that and make it however you want. I'll leave it like that for now, and that will be the end of this video.